Hey, hola y hola in Portuguese. It's La Gordita here with my second video on the official page of La Gordita Chronicles. I'm so excited and so glad to see that you clicked the link. Make sure you like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to my channel so that you can always be up to date on the latest videos that I post. Today's video is going to be one of two parts of a travel haul, but with much more information than a normal haul video. I'm going to be announcing where I'll be at the end of September, the 1st of October. I'm going to show you the outfits that I'll be taking and include a lot of information on recommended necessities for the trip that I'm going to take at the end of the month. And I guess these things are really specific to this country. Also, it's going to be a ton of FYI, so stay tuned. Bucket list since I created it about 10 plus years ago. However, as everyone knows, the borders have been closed between the US and Cuba for a really long time. I don't know if I ever thought I would actually go to Cuba, but it was definitely on my bucket list because, you know, it's a bucket list. Thankfully, in 2014, President Obama initiated a historic shift in relations between the two countries and reestablished diplomatic relations after more than 5 decades. So thank you, President Obama. Now, I'm going to be giving you a ton of information today. So forgive me if you see my eyes glare down every now and then because I'm going to be reading off of paper and phone. So I'm going to be talking about this topic of Cuba, not as a professional, obviously, but as someone who has done a ton of research over the last couple months and as someone who's going through the motions as we speak, preparing for this trip, which is about to be probably the most epic trip of my life. But besides that. All right, so first things first, airfare and Sky Miles. I purchased my ticket through Delta out of Nashville, and I attached it to my Sky Miles account. For those of you who don't know what a Sky Miles account is, it's basically a program through Delta that allows you to get flyer miles for the different trips that you take with them. I'm pretty sure every major airline has a program like this. I'm not very sure if it's called Sky Miles, but I would check it out. Round trip, my ticket was $279. I will have a layover in Atlanta. My best advice is if you are planning on taking a trip to Cuba or anywhere for that matter, whether it's domestic or international, and you travel often, my advice is to set up a rewards points account with any of these major airlines because it will benefit you in the long run. So the next thing that I'll be talking about is the partnership between Airbnb and Delta. If you don't know what Airbnb is, it's basically a website that allows people from all over the country to rent out whole homes, whole apartments, whole condos, or private rooms in their country. I booked an Airbnb in La Habana for 6 nights, and you will not believe how much I paid. It was $200, and that's taxes included. The apartment is absolutely beautiful. The reviews are amazing, and thus far the host has been incredible when it comes to answering a million questions that I've had over the last 3 weeks. Another great benefit of Airbnb and Delta being or collaborating right now is the fact that you can get Sky Miles through Delta by booking an Airbnb accommodation. There's not a catch, but there's a trick to it, kinda. So instead of going through the Airbnb website, you have to go through the Delta website and they'll redirect you to the Airbnb site. Normally it takes 6 to 8 weeks after your trip for you to see the points in the account. So thank me later. Okay, so the next topic is the Visa or tourist card, as it's formally called. The price of the tourist card, Cuban insurance, and the OFAC reason that I chose. The Visa tourist card is $50 and it can be ordered through the airline and mailed directly to you, or you can pick it up at the airport the day of departure. I'm not exactly sure if you pick it up at the gate or if you have to go to a specific area, but I'm sure someone at the airport will be able to tell you. The Cuban insurance with Delta is included when you buy the ticket. It is mandatory before you can enter into Cuba. For the OFAC reasoning, I selected people to people because I plan on interacting with the Cuban people a lot. I was also advised to keep an itinerary of my activities and any stubs of places that I decided to go while I was there in case I got stopped by immigration on the way back. I'm going to take a second to read you something straight from the Delta website in regards to the OFAC. The website says, OFAC certification. U.S. law restricts travel to Cuba to certain authorized travel categories. Each passenger will be required to submit a signed form certifying the passenger is traveling under one of the 12 travel categories authorized by the Office of Foreign Assets Control, or OFAC. The traveler is responsible for qualifying under one of these travel categories. Travel for traditional tourist activities is prohibited. Travel to Cuba is only permitted for the 12 categories authorized by OFAC, and travelers are expected to maintain a full schedule of activities related to their category of travel. So you can also, if you're flying through Delta, I know for sure, when you call Delta, if you have any questions or need to make a reservation, you have to get directed to a specific desk. That desk is called the Cuba desk, and they can answer any questions that you have. They can make your reservations. They can also help you with the purchasing of your visa. The next topic is money, or the currency exchange. U.S. credit and debit cards do not work in the U.S. So a trip to the island involves bringing a lot of cash, I would imagine. How much? Of course, I haven't been, so I can't tell you exactly. But advice is make a budget. I've done a lot of research over the last couple months, so I can kind of make a budget based off what other people who've gone to Cuba have said. How much they've spent on drinks, how much they've spent on food, how much they've spent on trips to different cities, on the bus, taxis, and things like that. So of course, the budget that I make is not going to be exact, but it's going to let me know how much more or less I should take. The average, they say, is $50 to $100 per day. So we'll see. Anytime you travel, best advice or best practice is to bring more money than you need. Keep US dollars, because I'm assuming that any country you go to, you can exchange to US dollars, or they will accept US dollars. You do not want to run out in a country that doesn't accept your currency. Cuba has two different kinds of currencies. The first one is the Cuban convertible peso, or the CUC, which is the tourist currency. It's called the American dollar. So I'm assuming people will know that you're a tourist based on the type of currency you use. The second type of currency is the Cuban peso, or the CUP, and that's what the locals use, and it's worth a lot less. So I guess using the American dollar is not all that bad. When you exchange your money, whether at the airport or when you get off the plane in Cuba, you'll receive the CUP. The currency exchange from US dollars to CUP is $1 US to 1 CUP. Well, that's the latest information I got anyway. So yeah. And the currency exchange from $1 US is 24 CUP, which is the locals currency. So you can see how big of a difference that is. You can exchange US dollars for the CUP, but there is a 10% penalty fee for the service. So from what I have read and watched on YouTube and seen everywhere else, is that the cheapest way for you to do it without having to pay that 10% service fee is to convert your US dollars into euros, because they're the closest relation as far as currency exchange, and then take your euros and convert those into CUP so that you can get the max amount on your US dollar. Yeah. So the next topic is transportation and city visits. From everything that I have read and watched on YouTube about Cuban transportation and Cuban time, they have Cuban time. So according to my Airbnb host, we should not rely on Via Azul, which is the local bus transportation from city to city in Cuba. Instead, he recommended, of course, he recommended a friend of his, which is a taxi driver, to not only pick us up from the airport for $35 US, but to take us from Havana to any other city that I'm deciding to go to, or we're deciding to go to, because I'm going with mommy. He said the Airbnb, the distance from the Airbnb to the airport is about 15 to 20 minutes, which is equivalent to 30 or 35 US, which I don't think is bad, because when I've gone to other countries, I've paid about that much for, or maybe even a little bit more, from the airport to the apartment that I was staying in. So I'm not really complaining about that. I'm only going to be in Cuba for 6 days, but I do plan on visiting La Habana, of course. That's where my Airbnb is. Vinales, which from all the pictures I see is absolutely beautiful. Varadero or Vedado, I'm not really sure which one I'm going to. And I'm also not really sure which one is a beach, because Google is kind of confusing. And the last city that I'll hopefully be going to is Trinidad, which is said to be one of the most historic cities in Cuba. I've seen pictures on Google and it's absolutely beautiful. Hello again, ladies and gents. I know this was a long video, but I hope that it was really informative. I hope that it was informative enough for you if you're already considering going to Cuba, if you already bought your ticket, or even if you're afraid to go to Cuba, or whatever it might be. If you just wanted some information on it, here it is. I've spent about 4 months researching this trip, and I have read so many articles, done so much research on this trip, seen a million vlogs, so I can definitely suggest going as prepared as you can. I'll be taking a lot of pictures, you know, and videos, so that I can put together a video after I get back, basically detailing what I did there. I also want to include if any of the preparation that I did was worth it, correct, or something along those lines. If you have any questions, comments, or anything in the meantime, please feel free to leave them below the video. I will most definitely comment. I'm not famous, so I have time on my hands. Last thing, don't forget to subscribe below so that you can get updates on when I post the next video. The next video is going to be the traditional haul, where I show you all the different outfits and shoes and all that good stuff I'll take. I'll also be packing at that time, so I have a list of recommended necessities that all the articles and vlogs. Why do I have such a hard time with that word? The vlogs that I have read have suggested that I take. So I'm going to give you a lot more FYI, a lot more tips, and I hope that it really helps. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. La gordita.